Welcome all into Lasi Talk, Varmora Lasi Talk. Lasi stands for Learn, Act, Share, Inspire. हम कुछ भी चीज पहले नया सीखते हैं, फिर उसमें we try to use it, that is acting. Once we understand something, then we start sharing it. After that, we start inspiring. So the speakers here today, Parul Zaveri ji of Abhikram Studio is in the stage where she has started inspiring not only people like us, but innumerable architects, interior designers, the organizations, with respect to her sustainability, resource conservation projects. Parul Zaveri ji, along with Nimish Patel, has established studio called Abhikram, and Abhikram, as the name suggests itself, in Sanskrit means initiation of planning, architecture, conservation, and interior consultancy. It started in 1979 with a view to explore design, directions, and processes which make built environment functionally, psychologically, environmentally, and spiritually balanced, contextual, and comfortable for the end users. Abhikram's 40 years of practice has been a pursuit for, note the term, responsible architecture, focusing on conservation of our sustainable cultural heritage-based architecture, historic buildings, adaptive reuse and energy conservation through passive human comfort support systems, and on re-establishing the relevance of use of material, technologies, processes, crafts and craftspersons in contemporary contexts. She with Nimish Patel ji has headed the conservation team of Intact Jaipur chapter in the Rajasthan Urban Infrastructure Development Project for its rupees 50 crore heritage component from 2001 to 2005, and are members of the panel for Sustainability Chapter for National Building Code 2015. The list of a signature project is endless, but I'm extremely excited today to understand from her, to hear from her the insights of making behind the projects that we see right now also on the screen, especially the City Palace, Uday Vilas, Shambhu Nivas, Shiv Nivas, Ohodin Kumbhalgarh, Trident Udaipur, the Oberoi Udaipur, Tree of Life Kukas, and innumerable ones. You can see also the Torrent Research Center in the frame. And I'm sure she's so well planned to share with us each and every story behind making of the entire projects, where sustainability is the buzzword now, but since last 14 years, they have been working on those lines itself. It's an honor for Varmora, it's an honor for Boho Homes and Rotary International to present Parul Zaveri ji. Varmora is an organization which is into manufacturing the tiles, the bathware, and especially the sanitary ware and faucets, and the homeware and furniture ware when it comes to plastic division. Boho Homes is an organization which is into designing and manufacturing home and garden furniture and architectural accents based from Ahmedabad. So today is the time when we are going to talk about vocal for local. The best speaker, we cannot get better speaker than Parul Zaveri ji. Rotary International is an organization when it comes to talking about giving back to the society by the people, for the people. And I'm very pleased to be a Rotarian, and I'm happy to get their support for all the Lasi talks that's Learn, Act, Share, Inspired by Varmora, supported by Boho Homes and Rotary International. I am going to invite now Parul Zaveri ji for the talk. Parul Zaveri ji, over to you. I will put you into spotlight. Good to see you, Parul Zaveri ji, and especially the background which is there, which actually I'm so happy to see that you have taken enough pain and to actually sit in a place where it represents today's theme of designing sustainable buildings, especially taking care of the local artisans and the artwork. That speaks a lot about the kind of perfection that you prefer in your work, especially when it comes to presenting your work. And it's my honor, on behalf of Varmora, Boho Homes and Rotary International, I take pleasure in welcoming you in today's session.
Thank you very much, Geetika. It's a pleasure presenting and sharing our work with you on the Lasi Talk, which is inspired by Varmora, supported by Boho and the Rotary International. It's something that Nimish would have loved to do. Unfortunately, he is not with us. But this is something, he always loved talking to people and presenting projects and talking, especially sharing about our experiences, as well as in such times, the corona pandemic time. I think this is a very crucial time and something that we have been saying and working towards for 40 years, that unless we become sustainable, these are the things that are going to happen. A lot of diseases that we will come about, we will see all that. And fortunately, COVID has its minus points as well as plus points, because it has made us realize how indispensable the villages are, the food is, the health is, everything else is dispensable. Everyone has been going around just looking for, during the lockdown, vegetables kahan se milenge, where can we get now? Suddenly everyone is looking at Ayurveda, organic vegetables, fresh air, and all that. We realized that in 1 month's time, the nature could spring back. You know, it only had to say that I can only need to raise my eyebrow a little to destabilize humanity. And I can survive and regenerate without any human help. And this is what I would like to first give you the background of why we are doing what we are doing. Why did we started working on conservation, looking at sustainable buildings? Why is it that we were looking at traditions? Whereas we have been educated in one of the best schools in India, SEPT, and that was the time when Doshi was teaching. Louis Kahn, the famous architect, used to come and visit. And I mean, we had everything on platter. Though that school was coming up, it was all about modern architecture. And there was hardly anything ever about anything about our traditions or our cultural heritage. But at the same time, we used to go out during our summer vacations to do the measure drawing of old cities, whether it was Jaisalmer or Jodhpur, Udaipur, Ahmedabad city, or people used to go to Nepal, etc. And that was the connect that we had with our traditions and looking at all the traditional architecture and how people lived in these smaller towns. So let's come back to COVID and the climate change effect that we are seeing these days, which are earthquakes, forest fires, droughts, floods, I mean, just name it, a new viral fear every few years. Increase in cancer, liver, heart diseases, kidney problems, diabetes, and a whole lot of other issues. Then how? You think any one of us has anything to do with this? You think any designers, architects, interior designers, planners, engineers, even the consumers, have we all contributed to the scenario? Do you think so? Well, I think so. And we have made the wrong choices. You know, we always as human beings have to make several decisions in a day. And we have multiple options in front of us. Of course, a human being tends to select the easiest option. But what happens when we start taking easier options? We suffer, the environment suffers, the town suffers, the people suffer eventually in the long run. So it is the choices that we have and choices that we need to make is also what I'm going to talk about our built and unbuilt environment and how to become sustainable. What is unsustainable? We're talking of sustainability all the time. So what is unsustainable and what is sustainable? Sustainable is something that will last for a few hundred years as far as the buildings are concerned. Our clothes that we used to see, I mean, if you take certain brands, those clothes, they don't fade even after 10 years. And there are certain brands that in few washes, the clothes are gone. So that is unsustainable, that which is not able to sustain or endure itself for long. And what is the other current scenario where buildings and other things are concerned? unsustainable buildings. I'm sure we have seen these sites are not uncommon. Bombay, if you walk around that, or you just go to any slums or any housing projects that were done by government or chawls, etc., they all look like this. And these are the decaying RCC buildings. RCC structures that we see, it hardly lasts for 35, 40 years. These were built around the time when we got independence or after that. And 30, 40 years, this is the state of affairs. And even the most modern buildings in few years, I have seen a house was newly built, and in 10 years' time, the lintels had started cracking up. At the same time, I had also seen buildings, houses in Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, Ahmedabad, Old City, Udaipur, where nothing happened to those lintels, nothing happened, there was not a single crack anywhere. And what are the other current scenarios that we see? That buildings are actually a major consumer of natural and man-made resources throughout their life cycle. Life cycle of extraction, when you extract the material for making it, processing it, or processing of raw materials, its construction, then its operation, alteration, because we all want something new in few years' time, you know, want to change all the time, and deconstruction. We create, the construction industry accounts for 45 to 50% of global energy usage, 50% of worldwide water usage, 60% of usage of raw materials that we consume, that we extract from the earth, and 50% of the landfill waste is resultant of architectural buildings as well as the interiors. And air-conditioned covered malls are high consumer of electricity, and so are our offices. And now every house that is built newly, they have to have air conditioning. Do you remember seeing air conditioners in these old cities? Weren't they livable?
Never.
They were very comfortable in summer. Pardon?
I remember, Parul Zaveri, I had to shift my house. I have to shift my house because my neighboring building was a tall building, and all are at the first picture which you have seen and shown in the screen exactly was my situation. My bungalow and neighboring building had all air conditioner facing my bungalow. So my bedroom, I used to get all hot air of the air conditioner systems, and that's why I shifted to the exterior of Ahmedabad.
Absolutely. So 60 to 70% of energy bills of commercial buildings is on account of air conditioning, which is a great contributor to CO2 emissions in the operation of buildings. Look at this. You can't live. And now we realize in COVID time that this is the worst way to live. You must have fresh air coming in. If you don't have fresh air, you're at a high risk of catching the disease. And then there is something called sick building syndrome. I don't think we are talking about it in India, but abroad in Canada, US, Europe, this is a common talk, sick building syndrome. And you know why is that? Because all the toxic materials that we use, all the new materials which come, you know, all the vendors come to us with, oh, ye to sabse acha hai, this is latest. And it is that latest that kills us. Actually, we don't realize that whatever we are trying to do, we are trying to minimize our maintenance. And for minimizing the maintenance, all the kind of chemicals that are added into various materials, whether they are building materials, they are interior materials, whatever it is. I remember sometimes we were presenting something in Australia and we were showing the traditionally how where they are also insulated, at the same time they are totally waterproof. So these people said, you mean they don't leak? You use lime on the terrace and they don't leak? Hello? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So we said, no, they don't leak. First year or two, They say that there may be a little bit of leak here and there, and which we will repair, and nothing will happen. And that is what we experienced when we started working with these traditional craftsmen and buildings. And here in 10 years' time, whatever kind of waterproofing treatment you've done on your terrace, it's going to start leaking. So that's how far we have progressed. You know, those buildings don't leak for 50 years, 60 years. There are buildings that we have done now for 40 years practically, and there is no leakage. And all these, some of the VOCs only I'm talking about, there are so many other chemicals. I'm just talking about one thing. They damage your liver, kidney, nervous system. They create nervous system disorders, create allergies, increase cancer, etc. And still we go ahead and use it, and we are all हाँ हमें तो पर्दे धोने नहीं है, ये कॉटन के कपड़े तो जो होते हैं ना, कॉटन के पर्दे, तो उसको फिर बहुत मेंटेनेंस आ जाता है. ठीक है, वो मेंटेनेंस मत करो, फिर अपने शरीर की, अपनी तबीयत की मेंटेनेंस करते रहना पूरी जिंदगी. Then it's current. Another thing is our unsustainable lifestyles, waste generation, and the amount of waste that we create in different ways. It's cars. There are people who want cars every year. Every year they want a new car because it's something latest that has come up, or every 5 years, 2 years, 3 years. And the way the cars are made also, they don't last long. But if you see all old cars, heritage cars, they are working even after 50 years, 60 years. I've seen some of our clients, they get them repaired and they are renovated. And this we are all familiar with. The waste that we generate from our houses, that's where it's dumped. Pirana Garbage Mountain in Ahmedabad. We are all also aware of the kind of diseases that it is spreading. And then Delhi's pollution, of course, we all know about, and the chemical pollutions in Bangalore. It had become a major talk couple of years back. And of course, the water scarcity, and in places where we get 100 inches of rainfall, 120 inches of rainfall. I'm talking of Assam, Dang, Kaprada, all that region. And why does that happen? Because we have lost the techniques and the knowledge and the wisdom of using and storing the water the way we used to do, the way we used to collect the water and keep it, and the techniques of preserving the water, even if it is 60, 70-year-old, it would still not be spoiled and you could still drink it. And that, I don't know if you people remember, it had made news in our newspapers that WHO had opened up some tankas in the walled city of Ahmedabad, which were about almost 70, 80-year-old. They were opened after that long time. And that water was better than their best specifications. So when will we learn? Chief Seattle said more than 100 years ago. Chief Seattle was the chief of Seattle area that you see on the west coast of US. He was the American Indian. When he was asked to give his land, this is what he said. He said, I'll give you the land very freely because you're asking for it. But when will you learn? Only when the last tree has died, and the last river has been poisoned, and the last fish has been caught, will we realize that we cannot eat money? I think we all realize this, that we cannot eat money in last 3 months' time. But it's unfortunate that even after that, what I see on a lot of WhatsApp groups, everyone is just trying to sell. And it's not just vegetables. It's not the basic needs, the jewelry and the dresses and the high-end stuff that people are trying to sell. Even after learning the lesson of 3 months, that you start consuming less, but I think it will take us a long time. So the Indian subcontinent, we have to realize that the Indian subcontinent is among the world's most disaster-prone areas. almost 85% of India's area is vulnerable to one or multiple hazards. Kerala was the recent example that we have seen, and Goa is as vulnerable as Kerala. Currently, 40 to 50% of our population is settled in urban areas. And the planners and the politicians and all our governing officers, they all talk about making urban areas larger, how to cope with that. No one is talking about reverse migration. We are all talking of migration from villages to the cities. But again, let me tell you, in the last 3 months, a lot of villagers have realized who came to the city and had gone back. We have cases from our office who used to work in our office and had set up their businesses and were doing very well. After staying for 2 months, 2.5 months in their village, they are shifting back to the village and starting their work, setting up their work there. How, why, and when did India and the world reach this stage? I'm sure people must be wondering. I hope people are wondering. See, traditionally, we were all sustainable in all our pursuits. And we were rooted in the context with well-established systems in all aspects of our cultural heritage, whether it was natural heritage or built heritage. For example, also in our health issues of health, planning, architecture, agriculture, industry, crafts, religions, etc. So what happened? It is only since last 300 years that things have changed in India. And we find a lot of these evidences in the archives of British, where one of them is talking about it. These are just a few lines that I've picked up from J.T. Sunderland's write-up, and this is the talk that he had given. That's the colonial rule in India systematically destroyed a great industrial manufacturing nation, having great architecture, equal in beauty to any in the world. It had great merchants and great businesses, equally great commerce and trade by land and sea, which extended to every known civilized country in the earth, on this earth. So what happened? Whatever we did, we had just India amounted to more than 27% of GDP of the world. It contributed to that at that point in time. That's why this was a Sone ki chidiya. That's why everyone wanted to attack, come and rule, or plunder it and take whatever the Sone ki chidiya produced. And that's how the Britishers came. And whatever we had, all our industries, which were very well organized, they were basically based in our villages, most of them. Every known craft, every known machinery was made in our country. We were the best shipbuilding nation in the world. So that they prosper, they systematically devised the policies that will stop us from producing all this, and especially when the industrialization started. And after that comes the planned obsolescence. It started with the light bulb conspiracy. Can you believe today that the first light bulb that was ever made is still existing and it is still working after more than 100 years? It's difficult to believe, right? Because these tungsten bulbs, they used to go off any time. You might have just fixed one in your lamp, and in 2 days' time, it would have blown away. Well, what happened is there were 3 companies who had invested in making these light bulbs. When they made them and people bought them, there was no one buying it again. So there was no second buying, recurrent. So they were wondering what is happening. They realized the bulbs that they made, they were so good that people did not need any second bulb. So they decided, let us make bulbs which have short lifespan. And that's how all the materials that were made after that, all the industrial products or whatever was made after that, this was set in that, let us make all short lifespan material so that people buy. And that's how we started plundering the nature. So now they don't say, it's no longer the planned obsolescence, it's only an upgrade. Everyone comes up with an upgrade so that you throw away what is there. So why do we fall into this marketing gimmick? Just because some people want to make a lot of money? When you have more people making things which are made by hands, the money is spreading across. Whereas it is an industry, the people who make money are very few. And we have to realize that if whatever we are earning is not available, if we cannot bring up the financial conditions of all people and their living conditions, the kind of gap that will be created and which is already created is going to be very risky for people who are rich. So what was this economy? It is known as the linear economy, which is only talking of extract, make, use, and dump. So that you continuously keep extracting, making, using, and dumping it. And in a country like ours, where you have more population, we keep on producing much more waste. Whereas now the Western countries have now realized that there has to be an end to this. And the circular economy, which was the trend earlier, has started emerging. Germany and Europe are already talking about it. And ours was always the tradition of having circular economy. All traditional societies were like that. And now look at the impact, what I was talking about, that nature can spring back. This is what happened in just 1 month. When we did not interfere with nature, 1 month was enough for it to spring back. But how many months and years do we take after 1 or 2 disasters that strike us? What happened after earthquake? Were we able to rejuvenate in 1 month or 1 year? What happened after tsunamis? It took years. We have to realize that. We have to remember that. So what is the need of the hour? To combat the climate change and deteriorating health scenario. How do we combat that? How do we help people to regain their health? It's very simple. Go back to the roots. We have sustainable tradition systems which are still existing, which are not there in the Western countries. We have this in the third world countries. Third world was actually, they started calling it third world with Truman, the president of US, who after the World War, once they became powerful nation, they realized they were the powerful nation. So instead of colonizing people directly, going and attacking them, you colonize them through industry and through development. So that word development started then. We have Ayurvedic and Unani medical systems, techniques of yoga and pranayama. That is what has come to our rescue in this time, and not the gyms where they're always trying to sell you more machines, new machines. Yoga practitioners don't say that. You don't have to buy new things. Then social and religious traditions, our festivals, arts, crafts, traditional techniques of building, construction materials, agriculture. We are all now talking of organic farming. Why? Because there was a time when the farmers were not ready to even use the freely doled out fertilizer and pesticide. They were forced to do that at one point in time. And now they are hooked to that. And what has it created? It has created a whole lot of diseases. It has reduced our immunity levels. So for past 100 years, cultural heritage across the globe continues to struggle because of incongruent modernization and universalization of lifestyles. Every country had its own lifestyle. Every region had its own lifestyle. આપણે તો બોલે ને કે 10 ગાવે બોલી બદલાય, ખાવાનું પણ બદલાય. Every community had different ways of eating and cooking. Modernization, to us, it ignores culture and traditions evolved over centuries. And they forget about local climate, natural resources, because they want to just universalize everything so that they can sell their products. Essentially, the Swavalambi Bharat movement is a great movement. I wish we stop all the imports. Why is this so? Because ever since colonization, all countries around the world looked through a colonized funnel vision of westernization and modernization and universalization. But now, cross-sectoral frontier thinkers like scientists, environmentalists, conservationists have realized that the roots of climate change lie in the unsustainable lifestyle and development resulting from modernization. I've met few scientists who say that now, after the DNA studies have started, they've realized that people living 200 years ago were far, far more healthier than people living now after invention of so many, medicines. So it's for us to get back to traditional lifestyles, building practices, sustainable and healthy as they are sustainable and healthy, local climate and natural resources. Do you know that India has 6,400 different types of communities? 1,618 languages which are still there, 16,000 dialects, 31 food types, 27 major festivals, 7 religions, 29 states, and still one country. From all this is our local traditions, food palette, festivals, materials, building typologies, technologies, arts and crafts which have been developed over centuries. Look at the diversity that we have in India. 16 climatic zones, 155 soil types, which are catering to all kinds of vegetables and vegetation that we can grow, which is available in the world, which is grown only in one country, and that is India. We have 21 agroecological regions and 31 food types, as I told you earlier. And all our food types and have been based on the local conditions, local nature, whatever nature can grow, that's what we eat. And it has to be based on season. Today, no one knows what grows in what season. Everyone thinks everything grows throughout the year. And these are the traditional knowledge and wisdoms that we have, all the examples of the traditions, the buildings, our festivals, etc. And these are the buildings. You know how old they are? 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years. And nothing has happened to them. They need a little bit of maintenance every year. So to us, after working with all those, we understand that sustainability has to be in the context of our country, earth, and universe. You cannot forget the universe. We have to question our needs, identify them to their optimum level, and take the design provisions only to that level. Ensuring what is sustainable today should remain that way for a long time to come. Maximizing the use of traditional wisdom and knowledge, assessing new technologies in the context of India from long-term perspectives and development priorities before accepting them for our use. We have to rethink about sustainable India, the Swavalambi India. More efficient approaches of sustainable science are already there, available with our people. And a paradigm shift is already occurring in questioning present trends and learning from traditional practices. We may take time, but a lot of scientists and other people across the world are learning from Indian traditions already. Our craftspeople form the second largest employment sector in India, which we don't know really, actually. 1 in every 200 Indian is an artisan. Actually, our artisans contribute more to our GDP than our industries, all our industries put together. We have to rethink about sustainable India. While economists, and what Laila Tayyabji, who is a founding member of Dastakar, if you've heard of it, which has made waves in lifting up the traditional craftsmen. She's saying that while economists and activists agonize over unemployment, carbon footprints, and the depletion of natural energy resources, craft is an obvious alternative. Craft is one of the few professions that is a direct result of the natural environment in which it is practiced. The existence of the surrounding natural materials, stone, wood, metal, clay, cotton, cane, and bamboo, is the impetus of most traditional crafts, as are all biodegradable materials, and they are sustainable. And let's see what impact of only one architectural practice with two partners with decolonized minds could achieve. We benefited. This was a survey that we had done about 2-3 years ago when we were applying for the Ashton Trophy. It has benefited directly and indirectly more than 40 lakh users through various policies and projects, and more than 40,000 artisans, arts and craftspersons. Just one practice, one architectural practice. So I'll start with our forays in the historic settlements, because it was in 1985 that we started realizing all this. Though when we came back to India, we were sure that we are not going to do buildings the modern way, because we had seen how unsustainable the lifestyle and the buildings abroad were after traveling extensively and studying there. So this was our first hotel, and we had convinced our friend to buy a Haveli, a dilapidated Haveli by the lake in Udaipur, instead of buying land outside Udaipur city and making a house there. And first, initially, this was to be a house, and then we said, this is the best place for people to come and stay. So then it became a hotel, and it grew and it grew. This was when we covered the terrace. Earlier, we had the open restaurant, and then we covered it, so it was closed. And we told them that on this street, in last 10 years, only this was the second hotel that had come up from 1977 to 1987. But after seeing the success of this Jagat Niwas, there were 17 hotels that came up that were converted from houses to homestays in just next 10 years on that 300-meter long road. And we had also told them that you only needed some guidance from us. And the traditional craft person knows how to expand, and whatever are your needs, they will cater to your needs, and you also become the designer, part of the design team, the way they were with us also. Then we were asked to do conservation policies for Udaipur city by Intact Udaipur. So once we completed that, Arvind Singh Ji Mewad of City Palace, the scion of Udaipur, he invited us to do the conservation and renovation and adaptive reuse of this palace complex. So this is his personal palace, Shambhu Niwas. This is the way it was when they opened up. And this was during the process, and this is when it was completed. In this, he had given us the liberty to go abroad, wherever we wanted to go, to buy materials, etc. We refused to go there. We said, whatever India can make is what we will use here. And it was very difficult, having studied modern architecture, it was very difficult to use gilded furniture, then the kind of paintings, etc. But we had also told him that we have never done a palace before. You will just have to hold our hand and teach us what to do where. And the minute there was a paradigm shift in our thinking process, it was very easy to work with in any condition for any kind of, any type of interiors. One knew what to do and what to look at. And this was a major learning place for us. We will always be grateful to him for teaching us a lot. This was again renovated dining hall. All these chairs, some of them were renovated and restored, and others were newly made. And these chandeliers were lying in different parts of different palaces, which we had collected and put them together. This is the entrance lobby and the living room. And then one day we were there and he had kept this sofa chair ready, silver, made in silver. And he made us sleep in this room on this bed. And he said, I want you to use this chair in this room and redo the room. And this is the sofa set that they had there. And this is how the room was. And looking at this chair, of course, it was not upholstered like this. It also had red upholstery. I said, my goodness, how am I going to use this in a room, in a guest room? Because these were the Darbar Hall chairs. And this is the kind of paintings that were there. So I first got to a textile designer and I said, if I have to do something, and we slept there and we realized that the ceiling was 20 feet away from us where we slept. It was a 20 feet diameter room with 20 feet high, ceiling. We realized we need a pavilion bed. So we designed one, we made one. And because it was silver sofa, we knew that we had to cover it with white metal. You can't afford silver. So that's what was happening. We got the textile designer to come and work with us and do the design, which were complementary to what was already there, the paintings. And we worked with the craftspeople and realized that how different processes are done. This was a die, so the metal was pressed on it. This was very shallow die, and because we needed a surface covering as well, these were the borders and these were the surface covering. And we thought, why are we seeing nails here? So he said, whatever glue I apply, it will come out. It will separate out from the wood in a few, maybe a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years. So we have to use nails that don't have head, which are made from white metal. And that's what you see here. And again, this was another technique that it was a wooden base carved. And on that, they had hammered this white metal and coated it with that. And so this is what we had ultimately. A fountain was introduced in the room, the flooring changed, and this was the white metal pavilion bed. The headboard that you see at the back is casted white metal. This is all hand cut because this was done in 93 to 95 was the time when all these rooms were being done by us. And this was totally hand cut ceiling that you see there. And a lot of hand embroidery, hand woven carpets. Then again, silk screen printed cushion covers. At that point in time, these tassels were also not being made. So we had to locate someone in Calcutta who used to make and export the tassels. And we got the Jagdish store to actually get it done from them. Then this was the Fateh Prakash Darbar Hall as it was. And this was filled with all kinds of furniture that we used up in renovating the rest of the palace. And this is part of it after we restored. And these are the chandeliers that we made. We actually climbed up the steps, the staircases, huge ones, and designed them as they were depicted in a painting, earlier old painting. And these were made. And as money came in, the different carpets were also added. And this is a Haveli in Amer. After Udaipur, our focus was also on Amer, besides doing other projects in Udaipur and other parts of Rajasthan. This is the Haveli as we found it. And this is the wall which was restored using the same material, whether it was lime, was used after 500 years, 300 years, whenever they had done the plaster, also replastered it if they did. The same stones have been reused. Can you use today's cement, concrete slabs? 500-year-old building, recycled, using 70% of the same material. Lime, after all these can be used of cement. This is the way that we have found this building, and this is the way it looked. And we had restored it with just 2 or 3 bags of cement for the toilets. The rest is all lime and local materials and local craftsmen. And we had told them, you don't need us. It's up to you and the village people, the Amer town people, to decide what you want to do, because we had to instill pride in them and confidence that they know better than us. We are not the know-all architects that they generally meet. Again, you can see the condition now. This is a baradari, and all this we said, we don't know how to go about this. What are the principles of designing this? So it's for you to decide and do that. And this is Araish plaster. And the kind of specifications that they would give is Araish plaster aisa hona chahiye, which means it's crack free, it's absolutely smooth. These are the people, these are the various stages of conservation. And this is the team that achieved this building. And then Prince Charles came to visit and see a lot of our work in Jaipur and Amer, which was conservation work. Until now, we kept on making several studies and policies and surveys and giving our suggestions for how to go about conserving Amer and Jaipur. It met deaf ears in the government. But the minute he visited, everything changed. And that's how that urban infrastructure project came about, and 50 crores were allocated for renovation and restoration of various talabs, talabdis, forts, fort walls, etc. These are parts of Havelis which were restored by the craftsmen. We were only advisors. We have not done a single drawing here. Then applying those principles, traditional principles in contemporary design in Torrent Research Center, where we have used common knowledge, common sense, innovations, trials, errors, scientific decision-making processes and approaches. What you see are, these are the exhaust shafts and these are the inlet shafts. So there is designated inlet and designated exit. That's what it looks like. It is a research center, mind you. So there are very strict norms that we had to follow. So this is the place, this is the only place where we have used mechanical ventilation, where we are spraying water through micronizers and the air is caught in, and it's through physics, principles of physics, that it exhausts out. The hot air goes up and the inlets and outlets were designed based on those principles. And this is a concourse so that air from top can go all the way down. That was a typical laboratory. So what happened here? This is the CO2 emission and the energy consumption, etc. The energy consumption that we did was at that level, 75 kilowatt per meter square. Whereas Terry was at 250, and Griha and green building, the lead green, was around 500. And when they had established these norms, we were already operating at 75. And this was the CO2 emissions of ours, which were at 75. And what was allowed in green building and Terry Griha is 670 and 375. Again, we were already operating by then. But they did not want to learn from them. That because for LEED, it is selling the products. If you don't air condition a building, then you don't get any marks, green marks, because we had not air conditioned these places. Only certain labs were air conditioned. So through this process, we saved, what were the consequences of this? 200 metric tons of air conditioning load was saved. Summer temperatures remain between 28 and 32 degrees centigrade. And there is only fluctuation, inside fluctuation is from 3 to 4 degrees, where outdoor the fluctuations are from 14 degrees to 17 degrees centigrade. There are 6 to 9 air changes every hour in summer also, including in some chemical laboratory. If you enter the chemical laboratory, you will not smell the chemicals. Humidity is 65 to 75% in summer, 70% in summer. And air movement velocity is 1.5 feet per second. The best thing we realized, we had not calculated all this and we had not seen or followed up on this. We had 175 occupants for which it was designed. But before they built a new building and extension, by 2005, there were 600 users and none of them went out. What would happen in a theater or in any office if you had at least so many more increased number of users? 3.4 times more users. You think people will be able to stay there? It's just because you're continuously getting 100% fresh air. It is not a recirculated air that people were able to stay and work there. And in very first year, all the additional money that was spent on this, making this building energy efficient, in very first year, out of savings of 60 lakhs, it was this, we had recovered the money. In 13 years, the building cost was recovered. And in 39 years, all the investment in this building and that research that was going on there would be recovered. So these are the hopper windows through which the air goes in. It is here from where the micronizers spray the air or the water. And from there, that is the inlet where the air comes in, goes through this hopper window into the room. This is the chemistry lab. And this is the concourse that you see. And that's again the inlet. And that is the exhaust, the outlet. This is how the air looks and the micronizers when they spray. In monsoon, of course, we don't use it, and we don't use it in winter as well. We don't need to. And this is Gujarat Vidyapith Sabhakhand with 700 seats. Again, here we tried different techniques of cooling the air in wells by throwing water there, because this had to be low technology building. We couldn't use micronizers or anything like that. We had just turned a shower upside down, and the exhaust, which was again placed in a reverse way. So it was pulling the air in, getting wet, getting humidified, and through the Hume pipes, it was brought into the Sabhakhand. These are the outlets. And these orange that you see are the, again, exhausts. And that's the way it is. It was covered with verandas on 3 sides. The hot air rises and goes out. And there are some extractors that we have, and the cool air comes in. And then again, this is our experiment with our residents. When they came to give us this project, they said, first, we want to see how do you live? Only if you are applying these principles in your house or in your office, only then. We said, we don't have our own office, it's rented. But in our house, you can come and see. And we have, of course, first experimented with ourselves. These are the shafts, which are the exhaust shafts. And you have these extractors that work with the hot air. And the whole building is built in lime mortar and lime plaster and lime paint. So that is the exhaust, and these are the inlets. We have 2 inlets right now. We have not had to use the central part, which we had also designed to that also was to be the inlet of cool air, which we have not required. And that's our house using natural and recycled materials, wood, China mosaic, which was either third grade tiles or wastage of tiles or wastage of cups and saucers. And this is only lime plaster. There is not even a lime wash on this. And I don't know if people know that lime continuously regenerates oxygen. So you keep getting fresh air all the time. And every year when you do the whitewash, which was the tradition, you're getting rid of the fungus, etc., and the viruses, etc. These are the colors. We asked the craftspeople that what are the colors that we can use? What are they? What colors can you give us from natural materials? So this is what he did on a brick. So it's like a color plus add. And these are, we experimented with that. And that is a joint in plaster done by the craftspeople. And this is a lime jali. We had seen some lime jalis made in lime with Araish plaster. You also must have seen that whenever you visit Udaipur City Palace, etc. And that must have been there for the last 200 years. It has lasted. And so we experimented with that. This is lime. He cuts off what's not required and you make a jali out of it. And that became our compound wall. And a 150-year-old residence at Tithal on near Valsad, which was renovated. That was the part here. There were a lot of additions done later on which were incongruent. So they were removed and then additions were done which were all congruent with the old building. This was in a wadi, so it was full of trees, and neither the client's wife nor we wanted to cut a single tree or a single branch. So we were wondering how to go about it, and our craftsperson who did all the woodwork in our house and also at Torrent Research Center, he said, don't worry, we will take care of it. And see the way he has worked with the pergolas and the roofs and the way the trees go through it, and there is no leakage that we have ensured. And the trees go through also the toilet roofs and the verandas. Then we experimented with different materials. We told the craft people that we want to use different materials, different stones. And on just one surface, there is China mosaic, there is stone, and then this is ready-made, again, China mosaics done in stone and tiles. And these are the tiles again, painted tiles. And then the bed, the daughter wanted a fancy bed, something like that, what she had seen in a film. So she described it, we designed it, and our craftsmen made it. Part of it was made in Moradabad and part in Udaipur and delivered here. And we had our craftspeople from Udaipur come and do tekri work on the walls and also on the cupboards. And this is what it looks like. It's a combination of wood, white metal, casted, as well as cut metal. All things have been used. And when we had selected such lovely switches, we said, in a house like this, we definitely don't want the regular modern switches that you get. So these were the switches that were sourced. And for such elegant switches, you don't want regular boards. So we designed, each switchboard has been designed separately as per the number of switches and whatever that goes on it. And a luxury resort. Again, let me tell you that this house is also made completely from lime mortar, lime bricks, lime plaster. And for last 2.5 months, the client actually comes from Bombay. He has a few factories in Valsad area. They have stayed there in 2.5 months, and they said that we have never enjoyed this house like this, and we are really grateful to you for giving us this lovely space. We really don't even need air conditioners in this summer. This is between Jodhpur and Jaisalmer. Again, here we did not have any supervisor. It was totally local traditional craftsperson and our client who used to come and watch. This is the highway. You enter from here, that's a service road that goes to the service area, and from here you go on to the main building, the entrance, the public areas, and then from there the pool and the spa. And these are the two clusters of, and then you have two suites. We had actually earlier designed these clusters to have a green net, agricultural net, or any such fabric stretched over it so that they can also use them in summer. But the kind of landscaping that was done by our landscape designer, Kishore Bhai, it was, he picked up all the desert species and worked with it so that you did not need much water. At the same time, they proliferated there, and in a couple of years' time, you had kharek. The avenue was done with kharek trees, and you eat them and they sell them also. They're served to the customers. And that's the entrance courtyard with the fountains. Again, everything is made locally. Here you will see a combination of different stones. And we were always challenged by the craftspeople that you can give us combination of any stone. So you see granite, white marble, and red stone put together. And they say, there koi problem nahi hoga polish mein, wo to hum kar lenge. And this is not paste up job of stones, it's actual stone masonry. And these finishes are done by the local people. If we go back, this is the kind of stonework that they did there. That is the entrance lounge, lobby lounge. And this is a curved corridor, as you saw in the plan. And this is flooring that they have done in a curvilinear fashion, doing these geometric lines in that way because we wanted to represent the sand, the form of sand. And these are just 2.5 to 3 inches wide lines. And they have no issues doing that. That is in granite, and this is the local marble that they found 50 kilometers away. And then it was sold as Italian marble once it became famous here. Look at this kind of flooring that they have done, and the columns. We had asked them to do some kind of tablets, and then when Nimish was on the site, he said, why do we want to keep them vertical only? Let's experiment with the columns also. The flooring samples, look at the way the joints meet in curvilinear fashion. They can't do this here. They want to go in for CNC machines here. One of the houses that we are doing, the craftsman is not the craftsman, the contractor is saying, "Ye to CNC mein hi hoga." हमने कहा ये तो हाथ से किया है with just templates. You just cut templates and do it with hand and machines. Look at the work. Look at the perfection. This is the cantilevered staircase. So they are actually doing the stone masonry from the other side and cantilevering the stones. Look at the finish. These are cantilevered chhajjas from stone. Look at the straight line. You can see that in the shadows. It is so obvious. And this is the way the columns were done. We had to put a little bit of reinforcement inside. So concrete that was done. In the center, we had created holes. And what you have here are stone jambs for windows and doors. And just this is the shutter in wood. Everything was made locally. All the soft furnishings were done locally. Then we had done various experiments on stone in the toilets, walls, public toilets, etc. And the client was always saying, "Kuch bhi aap de do, hum kar lenge." Again, we had the graphic designers. We asked that person, her to contemporize it. We got the IICD textile design students. They worked with a mentor here. And we asked them to go and study all the craft clusters around this place. We said any such development should benefit the local people. We should ensure that the local people benefit and their financial conditions improve. So except for the upholstery, everything is made locally. It is applique work in one room. There is bandage and patchwork in the other. After surveying whatever the local craftspeople are capable of doing, these things were designed by us. And if you can see, most of the things came within from 50-kilometer radius, then 100, and mostly 150 kilometers were only for getting our sanitary and some hardwares, sanitary fixtures and hardwares. Everything else was sourced locally. And in lead green buildings, it's 500-kilometer radius. So usme to pura Hindustan aa jata hai. This is again Tree of Life Resort and Spa, where we had one engineer, but all our craftsmen came from this village, neighborhood villages, and it was just the first craftsman was from adjoining the boundary wall of this place. The site was undulated. There was a difference of 4.5 meters. So we had all our villas on a higher platform and the pool, and the public areas were at a lower platform. And that's where you entered from. That's the entrance lounge, the restaurant, the Ganesha board, the rooms, and the pool. And that's what the rooms, each villa looks like. And a few of them have the pool, their own private pool. That's our restaurant. When they were laying the slab of this and there was a gap, so our client sends us a photograph and he says, I like this gap. Why do we want to cover it? We said, we don't mind if you keep it. If you don't mind when it rains and the rain comes, and he says, no, we will enjoy nature. So that's what it looks like now. And that's the entrance platform and the water body that you saw in the drawing. And this is the dome. We were again trying to instill confidence in our craftspeople and telling them that they are capable of doing much more than what people and architects and interior designers think that they can do. So we told them that this is the dome that we want, but we don't want you to, dome to ho jayega, the contractor said. We said, no, how will you do it? The regular way. So we said, no, we want you to use the rubble stone masonry and do the domes. So the craftsman who was standing next to him, he said, hum gaon mein to aisa karte hi hai. So we said, go ahead and do it. We are not going to get any structural engineer involved in this. It's up to you to make it. So this is what they did. They just put a layer of plywood and support at the base. And that's what formed their formwork. The totally biodegradable Gaina Chana Chana. And it is the mud which gives it a shape. And that's when they start building the rubble masonry wall and making the dome. And then we wanted this kind of a shape. So we calculated the weight to get that shape. It was more than 12 tons. He said, well, now we have to do a load test. So just fill your bags with rubble, put that on this, and then let's check whether it will work or not. So next what we receive is this photograph from our client saying how strong can strong be.
Parulji, I'll just interrupt, but this is so beautiful. And you see the kind of accomplishment you see on the face of the people.
Exactly.
It's such a wonderful way of common sense, common knowledge and innovation using the local craftspersons. Amazing.
And you feel so blessed that you have people like this and you are able to work with people like that. Just tears come to our eyes. And one of them, they were looking for doing some bakery work in that place. That is glass work. And so they got some contract. That contractor came from the city, from Jaipur. So he brought someone saying, "Haan, 1,000-1,200 rupees square feet ho jayega." And the client calls us. He says, "You were saying it's cheap. Ye to 1,200 rupees. I'm talking about 11, 12 years ago." So we said, "No, it's not possible. Ye to koi beech wala hoga, thekedar. You know, he must be just a commission agent." So then koi baitha tha wahan pe, he said कि हाँ हम try कर सकते हैं. And तो पूछा ज़्यादा तो उसने बोला हाँ आमेर पैलेस में तो हमने काफी किया है. And the kind of exquisite work and mirror work that they have done is amazing. You have seen that in the WhatsApp that you have put up. And then when Nimish went there and he said that, "What were you doing? But you were working as a mason and a laborer." He said, "हाँ काम नहीं होता है तो क्या करें, कुछ भी कर लेते हैं." निमिश ने उसके हाथ देखे, उसके हाथ को छुए, he kissed his hands and he said, he told our client that no way is he ever going to pick up the rubble, you know, these hands that can create such beauty. So 10 years later, in 2019, we went and visited these craftspeople. We wanted to meet them. So 15 of them have been employed by the same hotel. Tree of Life has employed them. One of them is a chef there now. And they said that we have all prospered. 6 to 7 villages which are there around that hotel, they have prospered because of this one hotel. A lot of development has come about after this hotel, because this was the first building like this to come up in that region. And they said what was the best part about it was that we were sleeping in our own house, getting up in the morning, going to our farms, working there, seeing what needs to be done, instructing people to do that, come here to work, go back home and eat fresh food, rest in our house, come back here to work, evening again you go back, दिन का हिसाब किताब कर लेते थे और घर पे फैमिली के साथ सोते थे. और हमारे सब, आप आके देखे, हमारे सब गांव जो है कितने सुधर गए हैं, कितना पैसा आ गया है हमारे गांव में. Because these people, they are working also, they are artisans, they are laborers. At the same time, they are also employed. They are getting other things to do from various houses, and you know, they are farmhouses. There are some hotels that have come up, and they themselves have realized their own potential. And so they have prospered. We had a nice meeting with them. We got some of them to come and talk here also when we celebrated 40 years of our work in 2019 December. So this again is now Udaivilas. It's Mr. Oberoi. When he met us, he told us, "Will you do the hotel for us?" So first thing Nimish said, known for saying no first. So he said no. So Mr. Oberoi said, "Why? What happened?" Because Arvind Singh ji had taken us to him on a pretext that took us to Delhi on a pretext that we have to buy some carpets, etc. for the palace that we were doing for him. And he said, hum jana hai, mujhe milna hai, let's go on this side, but I have 5-minute talk meeting with Mr. Oberoi. So why don't you people come with me and we'll then go and look at the carpets. He said, fine. So we said, we will sit in the car. It was summer, hot summer. He said, okay, no problems. Then when we went there, it was a Saturday or a Sunday. And he said, office to बाहर बैठ के क्या इतनी गर्मी में, कोई नहीं है, सिर्फ मिस्टर ओबेरॉय है अंदर और बाहर कोई नहीं है, तो ऑफिस अंदर. We said, okay, we went and we were sitting in the reception. He went in and in 5 minutes time, Mr. Oberoi walks in and he says, Mr. Patel, Mrs. Patel, why don't you come and join us for a cup of coffee? He said, okay. And we go in and this is the first question he pops up, that will you do this hotel for me? Arvind Singh ji has been talking about, Arvind has been talking about you people a lot. And you know that it is his land that we are leasing and we would like to do a hotel there. And when we were doing the conservation policies of Udaipur, we had heard that they were looking at 400-room hotel. So we said that you can't do. We are saying, he said, why are you saying no? So Nimish said that this is what we have heard, 400-room hotel. And in a place like that, you can't do a 400-room hotel, then it will become a multi-storied, I mean, at least 3 or 4-storied building, and which will become an eyesore. And especially on the lakes, banks of Pichola, that's one thing that we have recommended cannot be done. So he said, no, I'm looking at 2 hotels, 100-room each. And now will you do it? So Nimish said, of course. I was looking at him, you know, the way he said no. He could have said it in a better way also. But that's Nimish. People who know him, they know that's the way he would react. And then it's, it's history. He said, I want you to do a hotel where a few years down the line, people will come and ask, which century was this palace? We said we will only use local craftspeople, local crafts, local materials, and lime, stone. And then we convinced him not to use even wall-to-wall carpets. All that, he was the only supporter we had for a few years until it started taking shape. Then everyone became the mother of this hotel. We were with you, you know, we were not against you. We were with you. We were all convinced that you can do it. It was only Mr. Oberoi who kept on supporting us when all the engineers were saying, ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, ये ऐसे पत्थर तो मिलते ही नहीं है, ऐसा चूना भी नहीं मिलता है, कारीगर भी नहीं मिलता है. But until he got 2 people, key people from his other hotels once they were completed, the chief engineer and the person who was looking at getting the interiors done, 2 of them believed in Mr. Oberoi and they went all out to make this hotel possible. So we have always been thankful to them as well, Balaji and Khurshid. And all these domes that you see are done in Araish plaster, which will last for 100 years, at least 100 years, because we have seen palaces which have 200, 300-year-old Araish plaster and nothing has happened to them. That's the entrance. The entrance courtyard, which Mr. Oberoi said, I want to do a lily pond, which is better than Lake Palace. So we said, fine, that's what it is. These are stone hand-cut jalis, stone jalis. Look at the perfection in each one of them. These are large openings. And this is chuna, lime wash, done twice a year. Mr. Oberoi said, why do you want me to do that? Because it's cheap. We said, we don't want you to do anything that is cheap, but we want you to set standards and make people realize that this is hygienic and this is the way to go. All this is lime wash. And the jharokhas. And we have 125 types of arches, the cusped arches that we have designed for this place. That's the lobby lounge. All-day dining. Another restaurant, Indian restaurant. The spa. There is a screen here so that people can open up the windows, the blinds, even while they are having a massage and have the views around. The pool spa, the crescent courtyard, another pool in another courtyard, the water bodies going from the upper level to the lower level to the lobby lounge, the boardrooms, the staircase. This is done. The railing is in stone and Araish. This is all Araish plaster and it is stonework. And when we had designed this staircase, other people were saying that, iske niche kya karoge? This will be negative space. We said, we'll get the painters to paint it. There won't be any negative space after that. And you can see the impact of the painting over there. And we always believe that you cannot have steps which do not define the edge. because for older people, it becomes very essential for them to differentiate between each step. And these are the premier rooms which have attached pool, and they have their own courtyards and outdoor space to sit. Again, the lobby lounge and the restaurant, all-day dining, opening up onto the terrace. The suite rooms toilet with a courtyard and a painting in the courtyard. That's the presidential suite entrance lounge. And that's the atrium in the spa. These are the corridors. Some are stone columns and some are Araish columns. These are stone columns. And the paintings. The painters would come and show us some examples. And if we don't like what you see in the niches, we said, nahi, ye phool nahi, acha, kal tak dusra ho jayega. Next day you have something else to see. And this is the procession, because this was a blank wall on the corridor of the suites. So we were wondering what to do. And then we thought of, they said, procession kar de hum yahan pe. We said, haan, acha, kuch dikhao aap. And then they would show you some paintings, some sketches on paper, and then they would do this. And then if you don't like ghoda, kuch nahi pasand aaya, अच्छा, एक दिन में तो हो जाएगा, हम बदल के कर देंगे आपको, दिखा देंगे. And look at the way, this is the way it looks during daytime, and at night with the light and the chandelier's light falling on it, it changes completely. This is almost 150 feet long procession that you have. And here are the people, craftspeople. There's hardly any machine used, you know, only to remove the labor part of it. Everything else is done by hand. They don't require CNC machines, which require crores of investment, crores of rupees of investment. And then whatever craft these people have is lost because it's not being used. And that money only goes in pockets of few people who have invested in that machinery. So it generated employment for 300 highly skilled craftspeople for 3.5 years. And there is a typo error, 2,500 artisans for 3 years, who now continue to get employment in other projects. And again, these craftspeople have prospered a lot. This is Uday Vilas at night.
Parulji, I remember you shared with me that these craftsmen are now taken abroad by people who come and visit this place. And now they've done projects outside India as well.
Oh yes, many projects outside India, not only in Middle East, there to they of course go, but even in Southeast Asia, Far East and the Western countries, in Europe and US. So many guests come, and that was the thing which we felt that only if you create this as a fashion, because ours is a fashion world, you know. It's everyone is talking of you will follow a fashion, or you'd follow an iconic person doing things, and that was our aim. That if Mr. Oberoi did this, it will happen. People will follow. And you can see that change already in Rajasthan.
Yes, that's why it has become you see it becoming a major tourist destination now after all these work.
And all the textiles that you see, except for carpets, they're all made in Rajasthan. And some upholstery. All, even the carpets, I think all daris are in Trident and here are woven in Rajasthan. Some of the carpets are also woven in Rajasthan and some in Kashmir. We said you should not import anything. We have to generate work for our people.
I think you are talking about vocal for local almost since last 40 years.
Yes, 41.
41 years. Yeah, 2019 you celebrated 40 years. Yes.
So that is the presidential suites pool and deck area. And this is before the chhatris were installed here, but
So
we had to
beautiful.
open up the hotel. Yeah. That is again the public area. Those are the banquet halls, etc. Boardroom and banquet hall. That's the entrance courtyard to the lounge area. And from this, what you're seeing is the courtyard behind.
Beautiful.
We just love this place.
I can understand I can understand your passion and your the way you like, the way you are expressing the work. I'm sure this is something which, when most of our participants, when they visit all these places, they're going to see these places from a different angle now.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they visit and they see it. Yeah. Yes. This project demonstrates the success, all these projects, success of combined effort of traditional skills and contemporary designers' inputs. And the engineers, unless the engineer is in tune and in sync with you, things don't happen. And that's why I feel not only this should be taught in architecture schools, but also in engineering colleges. It's very essential. It's a must.
I think appreciation of sustainability has to be done from very formative years itself in the education system.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's because that we had classmates also in when we were studying at SEPT. I had studied in convent, so I had got one perspective, one kind of a way of, outlook was different. But one grew up in societies, and lots of our family members were staying in cities and in villages and old cities. My sister studied in Jaipur, so we used to visit Jaipur very often, stay in that old city houses also. So that exposure was always there. And then the measure drawing trips, where you started really appreciating all the art and craft and the way of life. We always slept on terrace, where were the air conditioners? The summer was the great celebration on terrace. People don't know that today.
So true.
Yeah. So for past 4 decades, sustainable practices in construction we have realized that they have been existing all around us. But in urban areas, we don't even know about it. Probably the person who comes and sweeps your floors or sweeps your society might be a craftsman, who would have skills that you're actually looking for. But because that person does not have any work in his own village, has to come here.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that traditional decision-making processes have offered us many avenues in this direction. Change of our mindset was the main thing. And that is what is extremely important for India's development to be sustainable. The minute we realize that we have been taken for a ride for enhancing the societies and the economies of the other countries, and especially the colonial masters. And then eventually you also realize, at least in India, we are not getting rid of these buildings, but in many Southeast Asian countries, they don't want to see any of the colonial architecture. They are so upset with it because the kind of atrocities that they had to go through, they had to suffer. Even in India, what we had to suffer, we don't even know anything about it. Because the 60, 70 years of our education has followed the same line that the Britishers wanted us to follow. We have to get out of that mindset. Unfortunately, the first curriculum that was set for India in architecture college, they went looking at it to UK and US, to other schools. Whereas earlier already we had these examples of using traditional knowledge and craft in Southeast Asian universities, in architecture colleges. But we always wanted to look at West because they had succeeded in making us feel inferior. And that's what hurts us the most. So once we cross this bridge of this mindset, change in our mindset, it is possible to completely discover, treasure troves of traditional wisdom. And I tell you that they can find 10 better solutions of designs in critical situations than we can find. And they are more workable than our solutions. And any change is essential for growth, agreed, but desirable change is even better. Can you imagine if a human being was not developed sequentially, keeping what was before and what is next? How would we have looked? And that's what we are doing to our buildings, to our cities. There is no harmony left. I remember one of the deans giving a lecture at CEPT, Dean of MJ Fine Arts. And he said that, he talked about when he was giving his presentation, that why do you think we had artists that created such beauty earlier? Because when they grew up, they saw beauty all around them. And he gave us examples of all these traditional societies, traditional towns, Shekhawati towns, and all the paintings. And he said, whereas what you see now, આ તો હમણાં બધા કે posters જે છે તમને દેખાય છે, આ films દેખાય છે. What do you think how you think would be affecting the mindset of the younger generation? Have you ever thought of that? And that's what we are creating.
No, this is what Parulji, what you have shared is something which actually each and everyone needs to ponder on, because eventually many people try to argue that whatever we see in the films or in all this medias is the reflection of the society. But it's all the other way around also. We are trying to seed certain thoughts, certain culture through such kind of media in the society. So we need to, it's a very conscious, in the name of freedom of speech, we need to be very conscious when we are trying to see what kind of thoughts are we seeding in our next generation and what they are going to look at it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree. And one more thing that we discovered was that, see, the Western way of life is in design, is that you design, you are the master designer, and it's what you design has to be executed. And that's why we have clerk of works, etc., etc. We don't have clerk of works in our traditional building systems. We have a main designer who is designing, who is giving a concept. Then you have people below him who have the freedom to express their creativity in their own way. Even if two people are working on a carving, they are given that freedom कि अच्छा ये फूल की पत्ती करनी है आपको, गुलाब की बेल करनी है, गुलाब करने हैं, but it's for you to interpret it in your own way. And that's why you will see so many different kinds of jalis in one space. You will see such different kinds of carvings, and that's why you see the Ranakpur temple with every pillar being different. So we always gave that room of creativity to the last artisan. We did not think that we are gods. And that is when a person puts in their heart, mind, and soul into the work that they do. And we always complain that we don't get people's heart, mind, and soul. How can they get it? Because we are using them as machines. And so that's why we always work with the craftsmen in design. We say, हमारा concept ये है, आप बताइए ये हो सकता है, नहीं हो सकता है, आप इसमें क्या suggest करेंगे? Whether it's a piece of furniture, whether it's a piece of fabric or stitching, you're getting something stitched, or it's a building.
I think that is where the ownership comes into. And that is how you can inculcate that ownership among the people whom you are working with and get their 100%, not only in terms of loyalty, honesty, but in terms of creativity as well, expression of their creativity as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're totally 100% right. So what we need to do is decolonization of our minds. Please, please decolonize. That's what I keep saying, you know. And re-centering our focus on our local based knowledge, traditional skills, Whatever materials we have locally, we should decide to build from that only. Don't think of bringing, our craftsmen, you saw that those walls, they were not machine made in the Samsara resort, right? They were not machine cut stones. They were cut by people. Some parts, of course, to finish and to give a shape, it's there. The rest of the work is done by hand. And now you get people, I was in one of those shows, and they were saying that, now we have got such machines to give you such surfaces. I said, why do you have to import such machines? We have people. Employ them. Create work for them. And you will see that consistency in the work. And yet there will be something that will be slightly different, which is giving it that handmade look as well. And that is what is important. Why do you want everything that is machine made? It has no life in it. It's dead. See, local based traditional, its knowledge and skills are not only important for our buildings, but for agriculture, for food. We've lost that. We are not even waiting for the Diwali time to come to eat those sweets. All of our festival foods were designed because that is the time, that is the kind of food you should eat in that season. It is good for your health, but we keep eating everything all around which is affecting our health. And just we think that we can produce more by the fertilizers and pesticides. It's not true. Actually, they are depleting the soils. And as a result, we have been told by our farmers that we used to just get pesticides in milliliters. And one bag of fertilizer was enough for our whole farm. And today for the same farm, we have to bring tractor load of this fertilizers and liters and jerry cans of pesticides. And yet we cannot produce as much. Whereas we have found in 3 years' time, you can change your total soil, you can change everything. And you will almost start producing to that extent, but your inputs will be less. So actually your profit will be more. Your expenses will be less. So whatever we taught in architectural practice and 17 years of organic farming, it really got strengthened in one of the seminars, Salzburg Global Seminar in Austria, where 45 invitees were very, people, some from ICOMOS, UNESCO, etc. And 45 such invitees from 30 different countries. Then they all thought that this is the way to go. And that's why you see the Sustainable Development Goals, finally, of UNESCO, United Nations. They came up in 2015, and they were also strengthened further in 2017.
So today, Parul, sorry to interrupt, but this makes me very excited to share that today as a speaker, you have come here on Lasi platform, which is Learn, Act, Share, Inspired. So I've inspired the entire Sustainable Development Goals designing and drafting. And I think that that's the best thing which all of us can benefit from your presence and from your insight.
Thank you. But I really hope, there is a program that they have, Touch the Brick, the Indian Institute of Architects and Triple ID. So we had this Touch the Stone program to go to Udaipur. Okay. Nimish told them that unless each one of you take an oath that you will at least use one craft in your building and in your interiors, I don't want to come there. They all agreed then. Only a few gave that promise and took that oath. I don't know how many of them have followed it up. But so this is what I've been talking about, but it's the need of the hour for us to take responsibly, design responsibly, make responsibly, sell responsibly, use responsibly, reuse, recycle, reduce our consumption, and replenish the environment in earth, which was the tradition. Every time a child was born in Goa and Kerala, they used to plant 2 to 3 teak trees so that the child when grows up can use that teak tree for for his house. We have lost out on these traditions, and that's what we need to reinforce now.
So nice. Actually, I was very impressed that the use of the term, and that is what will introducing you as well. I mentioned that please pay attention to responsible architecture. Yes. And that is where you have summarized that as a response. Can you just show the slide again? Because that's very important aspect for all of us sitting here to understand that it is our responsibility to design responsibly, to make things responsibly, to sell responsibly, to use responsibly, reuse things, recycle, reduce consumption, and replenish the environment and the earth. And that is the need of the day. And very nicely you mentioned that we can actually, that's how we can reduce all those pandemics which we are facing at present, which is resulting into a lot of stress and insecurity, anxiety among all of us. I'm so happy, ma'am, so that I kept the chat private. So most of them are answering me in private. They're complimenting the kind of explanation and the detailing that you have done. I got from many people saying that up till now we used to look at tourism and we used to enjoy going to the natural habitat, natural places. But this time now, when we are in India, at least we're going to see we'll include the architecture part also in our tourism. Nice. And we'll like to see it. Yeah, we'll like to see now. We'll take interest in understanding the buildings and the making behind and designing these buildings. Thank you so much. And I got certain further people saying that I'll be keeping all this designing in mind. And I'll ensure that when we are discussing with architects and all, we'll try to ask such kind of thought process when we are sharing with them that it is important that we as citizens, until and unless don't ask them to design certain things, keeping the environment in mind and keeping, I'm sure then only we will get that kind of designing from them. So it's both the ways. There are people like you who force people to design, and there are citizens, some of them who force the architects to design. So it's always a two-way process. Any questions? Please raise your hands. Any questions? Please raise your hand so that I will try to unmute you. And we have such a wonderful, eminent, responsible architect with us today, so we can take advantage of this. I just wanted to ask one thing, Parulji. You mentioned a couple of times the lime. Can you just again focus on or share with us exactly why the lime is to be used? और आपने एक और term use किया, आश, A के ऊपर something where पुराने ज़माने में Araish. What is Araish actually?
Araish is a lime plaster. Okay. You let the lime mature for, it depends on what is your speed required. Actually, at least for a year, you should let the lime mature. 9 months to a year. There is a process that they keep going through. You have to soak the lime in water in matka and keep it in a cooler place. And every morning, they will change the water.
So very nicely, actually, you explained today right now that lime is one substance which actually is breathing all the time. And I remember the times of my grandparents जब गांव में वो lime वो चूने का, जैसे दिवाली के पहले चूने का एक layer लग जाता था, and they like to do it. हाँ जी, अपने आप करना चाहते थे.
Why? Yes, I used to do that. I used to do that at home. Why you think was during Diwali only? It is like spring cleaning that they do abroad in cold countries. It's here because there would be a lot of fungus, etc., that would have come up because of the monsoon. So the minute you do the lime wash, पहले तो आप उसको पहले सफाई करते हो दीवार को, and then you do lime wash, so all the fungus goes. And it does not let the insect stay.
Beautiful.
It's basically hygienic thing to do. And again, the lime, see, again, what I'm saying is lime can be processed in a village. And lime is available all over the world. Okay?
So true.
And it does not need high technology, high level technology. People in village can do this themselves, okay? Whereas cement it's made from lime. वो जिसकी लंबी लाइफ है हजारों साल की, उसको आप 100 साल से भी कम में कन्वर्ट कर देते हो by processing it. In the time that you process that raw material, you're creating so much of pollution. And then you're creating pollution because that cement cannot be reused the way it is made. Whereas lime can be reused after 500 years also, we have used the same lime in a different way.
I like the way, Parulji, I like the way actually, this is a wonderful learning for me, and I'm sure most of us would have observed that. The way you interact with the local artisans, you know, and the way you talk to them, you show your concept, and then you make them also explore their own work. Ki bhai aise, and then they show it to you, ki hum ye kare, and then you give that freedom. I think this is something which is a good learning for me, because I always thought that I am creative, and I'm getting my results because I am creative. But the question is, you should get results not only because you are creative, but you are actually nurturing the creativity among the people, as allowing them to express as well their creation, and that is how we get the best from the local artisans and the craftsmen, and that is what develops their confidence actually. Aaj ke zamane mein, haan ji.
It also enriches our design.
It does. It does. It actually adds so much to our designs, because I have been seeing this slides, each and every slides very minutely, and I realized that कुछ चीजें जो है वो मेरे दिमाग से या अपने आप कभी भी नहीं आ सकती है until unless I involve the local people in my work and their thought process as well. So thank you so much. Any questions, team? I can unmute everyone now. You can unmute, allow participants to unmute themselves. Any question? And gratitude, we have good number of people across India, and I'm happy to see that it's not only we've got certain spiritual personalities also today, and we have got some developers also today, architects also today in the session. Any specific questions, or everything was very clear? Because she was so precise when she was sharing each and every slide, and the detailing in her explanation, it was mesmerizing. Any question, team? Asif bhai, any question? Amit bhai, any question? Asha ji?
Someone raised a hand.
Yeah. Sachin Agrawal, ji, I'm unmuting you. Yes, I've asked to unmute. Yeah, Sachin ji. Sachin Agrawal ji, yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I'm just not sure if I'm audible. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you are audible, and your video is on you as well. Yeah, you're on spotlight.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for addressing us. I think it was an amazing presentation. I am myself an architect who just studied the sustainable design as my major, and I did happen to study the Torrent Research Center, which is why I wanted to ask you one question about it. How we know that the results are amazing. Having a 10 to 15 degree change of temperature is definitely an amazing result. But what I could not find out is how was the computation of the work done, how the result of the passive design technique that was used, PDC that was used, how was the computation of it done, and was it based on a trial error absolutely, or did we have certain results through some processes or computational design?
Computers were used for that. We had Brian Ford advising us from UK, who has been into this. He's a physicist also. And he and Alan Ford, they had a company at one point in time, and they were advising us. And we had already designed, why we were able to say that we saved 200 tons of air conditioning load, because we had designed the buildings earlier. But a colleague of mine, Shailini, who now has Moral Fiber, Shailini Sheth, she was working with them in UK, and she had come and she presented that this is the way they work. They had done a couple of buildings using passive cooling principles. And so we really got excited, and we called the director and we said, Shailini, will you present it to him as well? So he also got excited, and we said, don't you think we should do that? I know we have done all the drawings, we have the design done, but if you are willing to do that, we are willing to change the design. You know, basic things we have sorted out. It's only a question of now the envelope, the way the whole thing that we work. Because see, the relationships, to understand the relationships, and these people were actually renting places and having their laboratories. They did not have a design lab area. So with the scientists also, there was a lot of give and take. They used to come at 8 in the morning and leave at 8 at night. You know, we used to have such intense meetings in our offices. So we had gone through all that, and we said, we are still willing to change. So he said, yes, as a research institute, if we are not ready to take the risk, who else will? So that's the attitude we had. And then we got Alan Ford and Alan and Brian come and help us. And they did the computation. And then, but you know, where computers can go wrong, for them, where we had the inlet, the outlet exit was also next to it. We said that can never happen. Whatever your computers may say, whatever your physics may say, but to us, common sense means you have to take it across. We said, if you don't redesign it accordingly, then there is no project. We've already got the design and we'll do that, or we will use this. Because we have seen this in our traditional buildings. Our courtyards were that, right? You had the inlets outside, and you already had this in the Hyderabad, that is in Pakistan, where they used to have wind catchers, and Iran was full of this. So we had studied all this because I was always into how to use solar energy as well as how to do passive architecture. I'd worked with Soleri, and Nimish and I were both sold on it, and whatever countries that we had visited, we had seen this. So we were keen on doing that, and then they agreed. So the central block, we had our Indian physicist was involved. We only had got one block done by them. And then we got the Indian physicist he was from Tata Research Institute, who we said he will have to vet it, because we don't have the confidence in you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sanchi. There's Dr. Neelam here. I'm Dr. Neelam. You can, please.
First of all, I must say it was a real wonderful talk. We all enjoyed and learned a lot.
Thank you.
I'm not from architectural line, but still I gained so much. Like you can make out from my age, we have lived in the time when all these houses were available. My childhood was in the type of houses which were made by thick double walls, high roofs and ventilator, and we never felt the need of the air conditioning. And we had fresh air available all the time.
Absolutely.
But now whenever I'm listening to the talks on eco-friendly buildings, it is coming either for very high-end, crorepati types of houses, or for professional or corporate buildings. When all the knowledge is in India, all the material is from India, all the skill is in India, why can't we have it for our common people houses?
I totally agree with you. 100% agreement with you. And there are people now who are doing this. There are few architects across India who are doing this. Because see, to our architectural fraternity, when we did Uday Vilas, or it is like, tumne to copy kiya hai. He said, this is an adaptation. It's not a copy the way you copy from the books and the visuals that you see from in these glossy magazines and glossy books that come from abroad. We have developed 125 types of arches in Uday Vilas. We have different kinds. You need to adopt the same language. Otherwise, every building becomes like a sore thumb. And that's what modern architecture has taught. Why do people go to these Italian villages and Spanish villages and towns and they rave about it? Because there is a harmony in that. Why don't you go, when you go to US, do you go to see cities or you just go to see the nature? The cities are horrible. One city is the same like others. But they want to be counted, you know. There are so many buildings that I also see which get a lot of awards. And even as students, we saw that, and the user is not at all happy with it. It does not serve the functions. Very famous international architects have been sued and they are still fighting the cases, whoever is alive, for the buildings not performing what they were supposed to perform. But they have big names. Their buildings are worshipped, and unfortunately, none of the architects, none of the professors tell them, nor the magazines, even write one line telling how bad that building is. That how many cases that architect has of how many $1 billion. And that's why, and everyone wants to be featured in that. You know, they want to be accepted and awarded by the Western world. We're still looking them as masters, whereas we ourselves are masters. One point in time, India was worshipped, I mean, looked up to. We were setting examples. And what were we? We were a crucible of all the cultures. Everything came here together. We processed it and kept what was required, what was useful to us. We did not blindly ever follow any other culture. So many came and went. You know, and that's why, but I'm so happy to meet so many architects, to see so many architects work, who are really working with local people, working for people, you know, making affordable housing, not affordable housing the way it is called, genuinely making from mud blocks, genuinely making from local materials. At least now we see that it's happening. Very few.
Parul ji, we have with us Asif ji. Asif ji, can you hear me? You can unmute yourself. He is there taking care of riverfront. Am I right, Asif ji? In one of the participants, Asif ji, can you hear me? I mean, I'm taking him by surprise, but I don't know whether he's able to hear. Asif ji? Okay. Asif ji is there with us, who takes care of riverfront part of Sabarmati, and we were discussing the same, that how does concrete jungle increases the temperature, and then the greenery part around it, how does it helps? So they are designing the biodiversity park and all around the riverfront, with ensuring that the local trees are they are growing the local trees, so they invite the local birds and local species to nest, and ensure that there are almost the number of species which come as visited, they use it in a proper way. So they are trying to balance on the Sabarmati riverfront. I don't know whether Asif ji is able to reconnect, but that is what we shared in the morning today, and he said, I'll be joining you sure for the session to hear Parul ji.
You know, unfortunately, when they were designing the riverfront, we asked Bimal if the team who went to survey and look at, you know, study such ghats, did they ever go and study different ghats of our country? No, they went to Europe. You know, our rivers are such that we can get floods anytime. Ours are not perennial rivers, right?
Yeah.
So you have to design, all our ghats are designed with that in mind. They are stepped up ghats. So jab pani kam hai, to you go down right up to the bottom level. And when it increases, the steps are there and you can access it at upper level. So when that water expands, there is room for it to expand. Here, you have gaps in that concrete wall, and the concrete walls are not very thick like dam walls. So if, God forbid, if anything happens and there are huge floods that come, and with the flood, we can get concrete pylons that can come, electric pylons. And if they keep hammering this concrete wall, it will break. And
you
can know what will happen to it.
We have Amit ji with us, Amit Ashra, who would like to ask question. Amit ji, you can ask question. I have unmute you.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
It was wonderful to hear you again. Being interior designer, I have one question.
Yes.
Not a part of this architecture.
Yes.
But you have been successful architect and also a successful farmer. So can you tell us the journey about how you started about farming? Because I am also now into some farming consultation being started in recent 2-3 years.
See, I grew up, my mother, and somehow I was always connected with earth. And even as children, we used to try and grow things. And my mother, when we shifted, we were first in a rented property. They were first staying in the city. But when the relief road was made, the foundations of our house, the khadki that we had, are below the relief road. The tar of relief road houses that. So when they came on this side of the city, earlier they had rented a place. And then finally, when we got our house, my mother came from a village earlier. She grew up in a village, so she was always fond of growing all vegetables, etc. And that's where, I developed that need to grow things. And I had to water the plants, and that was part of my duty in the house, to look after the garden. So that's where the seeds were sown. And then I saw our clients, John and Faith Singh of Anokhi in Jaipur. They had bought a land which was totally denuded, and they had converted that land into a green haven. So that was my dream, that I also get some land which is really bad and convert that into green haven. And that's what I did. Once we were able to buy some land and work with it. And then we went and got some training done from Sarvadaman Bhai Patel on organic farming and biodynamic farming. And then we got him as our consultant, and he has always guided us on growing things. And then, of course, you learn from the farmers. And we also do interior design, but whenever we present our interior design works, many interior designers ask us that the way you design and the materials that you use, that will last for decades, maybe a whole generation. So, which means you're reducing our work. I said, forget it. There was enough work. There are enough number of people. There is enough work here, and you create your own work.
Yes.
Why do you want people to refurnish their houses every 5 and 10 years? It's a waste of material, waste of energy, waste of resources.
Okay. Thank you, madam. And I want to add the thing, because at 40 years celebration, I was present there.
Okay.
On behalf of Triple ID.
Okay.
On back side, I was handling all your slides. I met the artisans. So I'm sharing my experience. It was very nice experience. Parulji has also organized a workshop of all the work and artisans, 3D work, metal work. So it was very wonderful to meet those people, and it was very wonderful experience also. So thank you, Parulji, again.
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel I am lucky about it.
No, thank you. And we have also instituted an unknown craftspersons trophy for NASA students, National Association of Students of Architecture. They're supposed to go and document one traditional craft, which is not really known. And they have to do all hand drawings. They have to give us films, which is a proof video that they have been there with the address. And they are also supposed to design things and show that how the same craft and times.
Okay. Thank you.
Parulji, we have Siddhi Shah with us who wants to ask you a question. I have unmuted Siddhi Shah. Siddhi, you are in spotlight now. You can ask your question.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
It's a wonderful to listening you. Seriously, I'm very happy. I'm not from, I have not done any designing course, but it's my God gift for about to designing and all other things. So right now I'm making a miniature wood artifact.
Very nice.
Which is relate to the candles, ma'am. So जो candles होती है उसके relate में miniature wood artifacts I am making.
Very nice.
But and the things which you have shared in last, like reusable, recycle. So all that things I'm keeping in my mind and making my product. But the thing is how we get that awareness into others, because you know people are not dilute that things immediately, or somehow lots of time they are taking, somehow they are not aware about that thing. So how we could make that things in people?
See, this webinar, I see this pandemic as a blessing also in disguise.
Yes,
there have been so many webinars where so many people have come who are not architects or interior designers. You know, and we have been able to share through these webinars with a cross-section of people across.
Right.
And that is the best way of sharing. I always tell our architects groups that even interior designers, IIID and IIA, that you should include in your invitees list people from engineering background, people from other, you know, even Vaids, Ayurveda, Vaid, doctors, people from all walks of life should be invited for our talks and seminars and workshops.
Yes,
some may come, but at least it will start. We will enrich ourselves by interacting with them. And that, I think, is the need of the hour, which we have lost, which was part of our social structure earlier.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, I agree with that, because nowadays people want, you know, fast material, less consumption, like that type of people. But as what you talk about sustainability, I also believe in that sustainability has to be into a product.
Yeah,
because it is a long lasting. जो पहले मिल रहा था, जो हम पुराने जो sculptures लेने जाते हैं, मतलब we like some old contemporary style such artifacts and all that things, which they have made since many years ago, but it is still sustainable. So I am also thinking that we have to make that type of product which is sustainable long term. But nowadays people are like, I am totally happy now that Chinese products are going to be less.
Oh yes, I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
I am also so happy after hearing that China boycott China. So I'm so happy because I started with the candle making. So I was feeling on the time of Diwali or any other festivals, like, you know, China ki products aa rahi hai, Indian made, hum khud bana rahe, we are making our product by ourselves. But the cost is affecting. So people were going towards that only. So right now I'm so happy that boycott China so we can grow up.
Yes,
you know, easily.
Yes, I agree totally. Khari baat hai.
Yes. So my thing was that, and now I also feel that people would be aware about this sustainable product, because as of this economy right now coming, so they are also taking in their mind that sustainable product will be more good than unsustainable, like less life and low price type of.
Right, absolutely. And I am just praying that most of the villagers don't come back and they find work in the villages. They start growing, they start making their own stuff so that they don't have to buy anything from the cities.
Yes, and one thing I also liked in your this talk, that about Dastakar, which is happened in Delhi. It is really superb, and it is giving a platform to all type of artisans who wants to just take out their art into a market.
Yes,
that's really good. And they are that is really good.
Dastakar has been doing this for many, many decades.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And it was, and the product was also amazing, ma'am.
Yeah.
Products was also absolutely superb.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yes, that was a quality product. They are providing quality products.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, participants. We had such a wonderful time to understand the use of local craftists, craftsmen and artisans in your work, and also taking care of the, putting so much confidence in them. And the way you explained, you begin the whole session, Parulji, by why we need to do that. And then you gave solutions as well, that how it can be done. And when it comes to sustainability, yes, taking care of people, planet, profit, and policies are equally important. Government, people, and designers all have to join hand in hand to ensure that it's not new. To talk about vocal for local is not new, but again we need to understand that ये अभी hype हो रहा है, वो सिर्फ नाम का hype ना हो. So from your rich 41 years of experience, the way you have shared how it can be understood in a right way rather than arguing, let's start acting on all those aspects that you have shared today. Thank you so much. It is such a wonderful honor. It's my honor to actually I can call you as being mentoring this talk today on designing sustainable building. Thank you so much. And from my own, मैं दिल से आपको धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी on behalf of Varmora, Boho, all the participants and Rotary. Thank you so much, Parul ji.
Thank you very much. There's one request.
Yes,
we need to change our educational curriculum right from kindergarten. We need to get our poems which are Indian.
Jack and Jill went up the hill.
Exactly.
To fetch a pail of water.
कभी आप अपनी गुजराती में, हिंदी में जो भी कविता है वो देखो, वो कुछ सिखाती है.
हाँ जी.
You know.
Baba Black Sheep.
Yeah. I mean, what does it teach you? वो छोटा बच्चा क्या सीखेगा? और अपने वहाँ तो वर्ड नी वड़वाइयो छे, ठंडी मजानी हवा छे. And on each चकली पर हसे ने, पोपट पर हसे ने, मोर पर हसे ने, वाघ पर हसे ने. So much we have. Why are we blinded? Why can't we see through the marketing things that they have to? They need us. We don't need them. We don't need the West. They need us. We are their biggest market. Arey Baba, why should we already have our own market. We need to create things for our own people.
We start from teaching them A for apple.
Exactly.
And we forget that A is a more phonetic work wherein you can never go wrong, where you can never go wrong. And I am being in the field of education. Thank you so much for talking about from the formative years, this need to change. And I have been always being very vocal with respect to the change which is required in the education system. एक ऐसा education system हो जो इंसान को इंसान बनाए. और इनफैक्ट बनाने की जरूरत है, इंसान पैदा इंसान हुआ है, बट एजुकेशन सिस्टम के थ्रू वो भूल जाता है अपनी सारी इंसानियत. So that's where the character building is all about, to retain this spark in the students. They forget dreaming. I want them to dream. I want them to realize. आज एक प्रोजेक्ट जो आपने किया है पारुल जी, एक सपना है. आप लोगों ने मिलके एक सपना देखा, उस सपने को रियलाइज किया एक लोगों के साथ बैठ के. And I think education is all about allowing people to dream, and then you start bringing people together to realize that dream. And when such things happen, you actually design a legacy.
Yes,
and for us, when it comes to Boho, we very clearly say that we are one of the organization where we are creating less burden on the environment.
Yes.
And our pieces are not to be thrown away after 4 or 5 years. They are going to be there for this generation and the next coming generation as well to use. And that is where, when it comes to Varmora, also we talk about people management also. People are a very important aspect of our organization. So that's how beautifully we have all come together today. And I'm so happy to...
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure sharing our work with you. And with someone like you as a co-host, it's been really nice. And it was so good when you were interjecting in between and talking about things. That's what makes things much better. And it helps me also to talk, because otherwise we are always used to the audience. And then Nimish and I have always loved when audience participates, you know.
Yeah. Actually, I with a lot of hesitation, I thought, let me give a pause, because I couldn't resist myself in appreciating the thought behind the construction part of it, the designing part of it. So I couldn't resist. It's something which comes बहुत resist के बाद लगा ये अब तो बोलने दो. I can't do that. I can't say
बहुत अच्छा हुआ. बहुत अच्छा हुआ कि आप बोली.
Thank you
कुछ
so
भी बोले,
much.
you know, whatever criticism, whatever it is, but then it has to be a dialogue. वो monologue में मजा नहीं आता है.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
We are people of dialogues, you know.
So true. Somehow we are actually having this entire campaigning called I Am Eco Warrior, wherein we are trying to see that how we can contribute with our knowledge. We can learn and create a co-learning platform. So Lasi by Varmora is a co-learning platform. So I would want that if anyone is interested to share their knowledge on this platform, please connect with me. My phone number is there in the creatives as well. And you can connect with me on 9824260880. And please let's see that this world becomes a wonderful place to enjoy and to live in this world. We don't regret surviving 2020, but we make a beautiful world post 2020. Thank you so much. On this note, Parul ji, thank you.
Thank you.
And I end this meeting.
Everyone.
Thank you so much. I end this meeting with the thought that let's add our positivity. Let's सबको इकट्ठा करके let's make a beautiful world post 2020.
Absolutely, absolutely, totally in agreement.
Thank you.
Let's also start working with the villages.
Yes, I think that it's not villages to come to the city. I remember कि जब farmer अपनी खेती छोड़ के आपकी ऑफिस में एक पियून बनता है, तो आपका खाना कम हो जाता है, आपकी प्लेट में जो खाना आने वाला है, you are actually compromising with that. And we don't want farmers to be moving towards urban or all those artisans, which you said very nicely, Parul ji, कि आपके पास जो काम कर रहा है, maybe उसके पास कुछ skills है जो गांव में इतनी अच्छी तरह से वो इस्तेमाल करता था, लेकिन अब उसको वहाँ काम नहीं मिल रहा, तो वो शहर की तरफ आ रहा है. We don't want that kind of urbanization. In fact, it should be the reverse thing happening now. So I'll definitely keep this in mind, and
I also want to suggest one more thing, that if you take up a group of villages and what are their needs, if one can survey that, you know, what is it that they generally use, and if we can get them to make it, those villages only make that so that they buy internally, give and take अंदर ही होगा, तो पैसे बाहर नहीं जाएंगे, हमारे villages समृद्ध होने लगेंगे.
और जो अभी जो आप कहते हैं ना कि हम जो एक very clear saying कहते हैं कि India lies in villages, but somehow we ignore that part of India. Somehow it's such a pity. We're all shouting at Sushant Singh Rajput. He's a wonderful boy. I really regret his death. But simultaneously, we had so many farmers dying because hanging on the trees in their own farm. And this is what we are actually responsible for it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot to all the viewers, all the participants, and you. Thank you very much to you, Varmora and Rotary International. Hope to work with you again, you know, not just on this platform, but work on education and other things. Sure. Anywhere you need our help, I'm there. Okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And anyone has any questions, they can always, you can redirect them to me, or they can,
We'll do that, definitely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, and please keep connecting with us on this Lasi platform. I'm sure over a period of time, we will build up such a platform wherein a lot of resources. ऐसा होता है ना, देखो इतने सारे intelligent जो लोग हैं, उनके पास इतनी सारी चीजें. It's not about intelligence, it's the wisdom which they have. And I would want that this wisdom comes out and we are able to store it in a way where many people can take advantage of this wisdom. And with this only thought, we have created this platform. And I'm sure over a couple of months, we will have a good amount of wisdom on the platform of Lasi, Learn, Act, Share, Inspire. keep connecting with us, and please give your feedback. What do you want? How do you want? What kind of topics you would like to connect? And we will ensure that we try our best to bring it to you. Thank you so much. And on this note, have a wonderful Sunday. I hope you enjoyed the solar eclipse as well. And ऐसे ग्रहण तो जिंदगी में आते रहते हैं, but एक चीज है, हमारी जिंदगी हमारी रफ्तार चलनी चाहिए, हम रुकने नहीं चाहिए. Thank you so much. And this with I end today's talk.
Yes. Bye. Bye. Yeah.